At this point, we can create our first React component. In React, components comprise a user interface, and they usually have some reusable and independent quality about them. For our first component, we'll call it app. And when we create React components, we use the .jsx extension rather than the .js extension. So let's write app.jsx. Now, those of you with some web development experience might find JSX very familiar. It looks just like HTML, but in actuality, .jsx is not HTML. It's JavaScript with the look of a template language like XML, but we use it to create components and elements within React. So let's create this React component now. We'll need to import React as usual from React. But now we're missing a step. We also want to import the component feature from React. Let's go ahead and add the component. And that's all we're going to need to import for now. We don't need the React DOM anymore since the index.js file is already covering that. To begin writing our component, we'll declare an ES6 class. Now, those of you with a computer science background will like ES6 classes. They were introduced in ECMAScript 2015 and allow us to write JavaScript in an object-oriented model. This is especially useful in creating our custom component because we can simply extend React's component with our class, inherit all of their default methods, which we will discuss later as they become relevant to our applications. But the first one, and the most used one, is a render method. The render method allows us to return any JSX that we would like. So let's return a new div that says countdown champ app component. Cool. Now, we've already discussed importing when we import React and the React DOM from the modules. But now this component is our own module that we can export to other classes that will later import it. So let's export it now and declare it as the default component. Finally, we need the application to recognize this component as the default component to use. Let's go to index.js and replace this div with our app component. Now, some of you might be wondering why we can use the app component without even importing it first. Well, you guys would be exactly right. We need to import app from the current directory, and dot always refers to the current directory /app. Now, as we save, we should see our div update onto the screen. But there's nothing rendering on the page. Why is that? Well, a common mistake within the render method is to forget to use the return statement. You always have to return the JSX. You can't simply write it out. This is something a lot of people starting out with React forget to do, something I myself had to deal with a little bit as I was learning. Let's go ahead and save that, navigate back, and there we go, countdown champ app component. Before we move on, let's briefly review the three topics we just discussed. A component in React is an independent and reusable piece of UI. Next, JSX looks just like HTML or XML, but is actually JavaScript and allows us to create React components. And finally, importing and exporting allows us to share code between modules and files. Let's move on to the next video.